What's up everyone, I'm Tar, and in this video we'll talk about the WH questions. First, some little grammar details because, order is important, and then we're gonna go with each one of the WH question words and with an example. So, let's start! Just an idea. Write the questions to get this information, okay? Write it in the comments and let's answer each other. Okay, so WH questions are the ones that use words with WH. These information questions are really useful to get precise information depending the word that we use. For example, we have a classic one. What's your name? My name is Cesar, or my name is Sar, or my name is Oscar, or Viviana, or whatever. You see? So we get information with those questions. What else can we see here? Well, that you may see that some questions generally follow the same rule, but there are some exceptions. Maybe about those exceptions we can talk about that way later, maybe in another video. Well, this happens with all the tenses, okay? So there is a typical structure and is we open the question with a WH. In this example, what? Then we use the strong verb or the auxiliary of the sentence. In this case, are is the verb to be because this question is in present continuous. I know I'm getting too technical. Then we follow with the subject, you. Then we need the actual verb of the sentence. This one is watching. And then we just go on with the object or complement. What are you watching on Netflix? I think that's a good question right now. Is there any good series that you can recommend in the comments? Look, this is the formula. WH, auxiliary, subject, verb, and object or complement. Here we have another example, but this time using past simple. So, why did your teacher post this video? Well, because he wants you to understand WH questions. Okay, same formula, WH, strong verb or auxiliary, the subject, the verb, and the object or complement. However, some questions do have exceptions. One of these cases is with how. For example, this is using how often. So we break the formula a little here, but it's because it's a special case. So how often do you train your upper body in the gym? Do you skip leg day? Anyway, so look here at the change. We just include often, but it's only for how. And as usual, we have an exception, but later we can talk more about this, and it's WH questions as subjects, especially with who. Okay, so in this case, who tried to steal my sandwich? Really, who did it? Here, the WH and the subject are the same, so that's why we don't use auxiliaries. That's the only difference. But for now, we're gonna focus on the most typical questions using auxiliaries. Well, now let's see each WH with their actual use. So let's continue. Most questions that you have seen so far use what. What's your name? My name is Jaime. So we usually use it for general information, okay? What's this? What's that? Also when we have way too many possibilities, almost infinite possibilities, that's why we ask, what's your favorite color? For definitions too. What was a T-Rex? So the answer is, well, it was a giant carnivore from the Cretaceous. So you see, that's a definition. So general information and definitions. Now, we have which, not which. This question is when we want a person to pick a choice. They have to choose something, so we give them limited options. For example, which movie do you prefer? Well, I prefer Star Wars Rogue One. Yeah, I know, unpopular opinion. Where? We use it when we need to know the place, location of something, okay? So, for example, we have, where did you buy that dress? I bought it in the flea market. Okay, good to know. Or, for example, in experiences, where have you traveled? I've traveled to 3 South American countries. Okay. When? We use when we want to know the time of something, okay? Not necessarily the hour, okay? When is your birthday? It's on August the 15th. When will Amy visit us? I don't know, maybe she will do it next summer. Okay, so as you can see, we want to know the time things happened or will happen, especially questions with past and future. Who has some very specific options. Is when we want to know the person who did an action. Okay, so who won the match? Rafael Nadal won it easily. Yeah, if you're into tennis. Who should take extra classes? The students with doubts should take extra classes. One tip here: when you are a beginner, it's better to start using the words in the question to answer the question. Okay, as you can see in the question we have should. Here also I use should. Okay, it's not 100% necessary, but it helps you when you are a beginner. Okay, so who has a cousin called whose? Whose is used when we want to know the owner. You found an object and you want to ask if the object is of one of these people. So whose backpack is that? Somebody's going to answer, well, it's Joanna's. You see? So you just have to use it for that specific use, and is to know who is the owner of something. Whom, yeah, I know it sounds weird, chill. Well, you don't want to know the person who did the action. You want to know the person who was affected by the action, okay? So that's the sense. It's not so common sometimes. So whom did they celebrate at the party? Mike. It was his birthday. So you want to know who was, well, who was the center, who was the focus of that. Many people try to avoid questions with whom and try to go around with a normal question with who. But try it. How is very special. Well, when it's alone, it's basically a process, okay? So basically, how do you unlock your cell phone? Oh well, I use my fingerprint. Also, when we want to know the state of something, how something is, that's why we have how are you? And we have a final thing. Well, how can be combined with different adverbs, and it's going to give us some options. I'm going to present just 3 of them because they're the most common. How often? When we want to know the frequency or the number of times something happens. Okay, so how often does the university offer grants? Well, quite frequently depending the case. Again, these kind of answers for WH questions give information and are more natural. So again, if you're a beginner, go with the structure. If you are, well, a little bit more advanced or intermediate, go crazy with the answers. Another combination with how much and how many for quantities. Why do we have 2 options? Well, mainly because how much is for the things we cannot normally count without a container. So for example, how much ketchup do you use? As much as possible. Well, I love ketchup. With how many, we ask for questions that we can actually count. Those objects are kind of, how many people live in Bogota? Well, too many. Almost 9 million. So as you can see, countable and uncountable is another topic in English that we could see later. And finally, we have the favorite question of little kids. Why? Well, why is very useful because you need people to sometimes explain why they do or don't do some actions. So why did you leave early from maths? Because I was tired and I needed some sleep. Yep, and that's it. And that's it for this video. Come on, if you are scrolling the comments, ask questions or answer questions that are already there. Get to know each other. I'm going to also answer some questions that I see that I find interesting, okay? Without further ado, that's it for today. Remember to like and subscribe. That's the best way to help the channel. And I'm out of here. Cesar out. Bye.